Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps.
Wow. All right, this is a lot to unpack here. You know, Sean Diddy Combs, the guy we all know, Bad Boy Records, Ciroc, all that. Today, well, things went south. Indicted.
Yeah, it's shocking to say the least, given, the whole image he's built, entrepreneur, philanthropist, the hip-hop success story.
Right, exactly. And now we're looking at these charges. I'm looking at this press conference transcript from the Southern District of New York. Sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, even arson, they're saying.
It's a lot, and it's not just, the sheer number of charges is one thing, but the ITO aspect, that's what's really big here.
IKEA, that's usually for, like, taking down the mob, right? Yeah. Organized crime. How does that apply to Diddy and his businesses?
That's where it gets interesting. The prosecution is saying, essentially, that his whole empire, it wasn't just music and vodka. They're saying it was a front for a criminal enterprise.
Wait, so every deal, every record, every bottle of Ciroc, they're saying that was part of some illegal thing.
Not necessarily every single transaction, no. But the indictment alleges that Combs used these businesses, right, to facilitate this pattern of criminal behavior. RICO, remember, it's about proving a pattern, like ongoing racketeering, not just isolated incidents.
So they're saying his success, it wasn't just talent and hard work. It was built on these horrific acts, using his companies to do it.
That's the argument they're making. And this new information that's come out today in the arrest update, it paints a very disturbing picture. They're alleging he orchestrated what they call freak-offs.
Freak-offs? What is a freak-off?
Well, they're describing events where he would allegedly force women into these prolonged sexual acts with male sex workers. And they're saying he often used drugs, ketamine, GHB, to make sure they complied.
That's incredibly disturbing. I mean, that's like something out of a nightmare.
And then on top of that, you've got the alleged incident back in March 2016 where Combs was caught on video assaulting a woman trying to leave a hotel in LA. And then there's the whole thing with the defaced AR-15s that they seized from his properties.
Those AR-15s, that's chilling. It adds this whole other level of, I don't know, intimidation to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes to show the power dynamic at play here, right? The prosecution is saying this wasn't just about sexual exploitation. It was about creating this environment of fear, of control.
And how does all of this tie back to the RICO charges and his companies?
RICO lets them target the structure of the whole organization. They're alleging Combs didn't just commit these individual acts, but that he used the businesses, his money, his influence, everything, his whole empire, to make it all happen and keep it hidden.
So it's not just him personally, it's the whole structure that they're saying supported these crimes.
Exactly. That's what makes RICO so powerful. They're not just trying to lock up one person, they're trying to dismantle the whole system that allowed it to happen.
This is huge. And the prosecutor said they're not done right. The investigation is still ongoing.
That's right. They hinted at more charges, maybe more suspects. When you think about how big Combs' network is, you have to wonder, was anyone else involved in this? Was anyone else part of this alleged criminal enterprise?
That is a big question. And it makes you think, what happens to his empire if this RICO indictment sticks?
A lot of people are asking that. Can his businesses survive this? Will we see Bad Boy Records dismantled? We're in uncharted territory here. It goes way beyond just one person, right? This raises questions about the whole system, the way things work, especially in entertainment, that allows this kind of abuse to go on.
Yeah, that's true. We hear stories, right, about these powerful figures taking advantage of people, but this seems like, I don't know, a whole other level.
It is, and that's why this whole RICO thing is fascinating, right? Because it's not just about individual bad actions. It's about exposing that whole structure that they're saying allowed it to happen.
The prosecutor actually, he said a year ago, Sean Combs was in Times Square getting the key to the city. Today, he's facing justice in the Southern District. Quite a difference there.
It really is. No one's above the law, right? No matter how rich or famous. And this shows how the justice system, it can actually hold these powerful people accountable.
Makes you think, right, about the responsibility that comes with wealth and influence. Like, what are you doing with it?
For sure. And it makes us look at our own ideas about success. Are we as a society, are we too quick to, to look the other way when it's someone rich and famous doing bad things?
It's a hard question, but it's an important one. And in this case, with these allegations, I mean, they're so serious, so disturbing that it's hard to ignore, right? Like, this could be huge culturally.
And the prosecutor made it clear the investigation isn't over. They want anyone with information to come forward. So there might be more to this story that we don't even know yet.
And it's brave of the people who've already come forward, right? To speak out against someone like Diddy, that takes guts.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with these allegations of threats and cover-ups. Like, think about that incident at the hotel in LA back in 2016. Combs was caught on video assaulting a woman, and then he allegedly tried to bribe the security guard.
Yeah, that was even in the news back then, but it seemed to just, I don't know, disappear pretty quickly.
Which shows you how power works, right? Someone like Combs, he's got the money, the connections to control the story, to shut people up. But this indictment, this could change everything. It could give other victims the courage to speak out, to break that silence.
The prosecutor also said, and this was interesting, that just responding to a subpoena, that doesn't count as cooperation in this case. What do you think he meant by that?
Seems like maybe Combs' lawyers are trying to, to spin things, make him look like he's helping out. But the prosecutor's saying, no, just doing the bare minimum, legally, that's not enough. They want, like, real help, real effort to get to the truth.
So, like, don't just show up to court. You gotta give us something real, something to show you're actually taking responsibility.
Exactly. And that makes things even more intense, right? Will Combs fight this every step of the way? Or will he actually cooperate and give them what they want? Either way, it's a gamble.
Speaking of strategy, the prosecutor focusing on those freak-offs and the AR-15s, that seems intentional, right? Like,
Yeah.
is that just for shock value, or is there a legal reason for it?
I think it's both, honestly. It's definitely attention grabbing, but it serves a purpose legally.
Yep.
With RICO, remember, it's about proving that pattern, that criminal enterprise, that this is how he operates. By putting the spotlight on the freak-offs and the guns, they're painting this picture, right? This guy is dangerous, he's calculated, he uses fear and violence to control people.
So those details are meant to, like, connect those dots, to show those actions weren't just random, but they were all part of this bigger scheme.
Precisely. And the fact that they found evidence of those freak-offs when they searched his homes, like that huge stash of lubricant they found, that just helps their case even more.
It's a lot to process, really. Legally speaking, what are some of the biggest hurdles for the prosecution in this case? What do they have to overcome?
Well, proving intent is always a challenge, right? They have to show that Combs wasn't just aware of these crimes happening, but that he was actually directing them, participating in them.
Especially with an organization this big, right?
Yeah.
So many people, so many layers. How do you prove he was the one calling the shots?
Exactly. It's not enough to just show that crimes happened within his businesses. They have to show that he was the one behind it, that he used his whole empire as a tool to commit those crimes.
You think they might try to get someone to flip, one of Combs' associates to help their case?
It's possible, definitely. In RICO cases, getting someone on the inside to cooperate, that can be huge. It can give you that inside look at how things really worked, and it can back up your other evidence.
If they could get someone to say, yeah, Combs was giving orders, he was involved, that would be really bad for his defense.
Oh, absolutely. But getting someone to turn? It's not easy. These people might be loyal to Combs, they might be afraid of what he'll do, or they might have their own legal problems to worry about.
It's like a high-stakes chess game, right?
Right.
Both sides trying to outmaneuver each other.
And what happens in this case, it could have huge consequences. We're not just talking about one man's fate, but about potentially taking down a whole empire, a whole cultural institution. And it could force the entertainment industry to really take a hard look at itself.
It makes you think, how could something like this go on for so long? Especially with someone like Diddy, he's everywhere.
That's the thing about these big criminal enterprises. They operate in the shadows, right? They hide behind a facade of legitimacy. And when you add in the power dynamics, the fear people have of speaking out, it's really hard to uncover what's really going on.
The prosecutor said they arrested Combs at a hotel and that there was no talk of him turning himself in. What does that tell you?
Well, it sounds like they were worried he might run or try to, I don't know, interfere with the investigation if they gave him a heads up. Makes you wonder what he was doing at that hotel and if there's even more to this story than we know.
It definitely sends a message about how seriously they're taking this.
Right.
Right. They weren't willing to risk him disappearing or getting rid of evidence.
Yeah, no, they're not messing around. And they're asking for him to be held in jail until the trial. They're saying he's a flight risk and a danger to the community.
Do you think they'll get that? Will they be able to keep him locked up before the trial?
Hard to say for sure. Usually that only happens in really serious cases when there's a good chance the person might run or mess with the case. But Combs' lawyers, they'll probably argue that he's a big name, he's got roots in the community, he's not going anywhere.
We'll see how that plays out. What what happens to his empire if he is detained? I mean, what does that even look like?
If he's locked up before the trial, that could really hurt his reputation, make it tough to run his businesses. It would send shockwaves through the whole industry for sure.
It's hard to picture, right? Diddy behind bars, not able to manage his companies or access his money.
Yeah. And it begs the question, what happens if he's found guilty? Can his empire survive that? Will we see Bad Boy Records, I don't know, shut down, his other businesses sold off?
Yeah.
We're in uncharted territory here.
This is so much bigger than just one man's alleged crimes. It's about power, accountability, how these systems allow abuse to happen.
It makes us look at, the people we admire, the industries we celebrate, and confront some uncomfortable truths. It forces us to ask ourselves, what is success, really? And are we willing to hold those in power to a higher standard?
It's a conversation we need to be having, for sure.
Absolutely. And it's a conversation that needs to continue even when this isn't in the headlines anymore. Because this isn't just about Sean Combs. It's about building a culture where abuse isn't tolerated, where victims are believed and supported, and where justice wins.
This deep dive, man, it's been a lot. Shock, disgust, and also a feeling that we need to see justice done. It's been a ride.
And it's only the beginning, really. This is just the start of the legal process. There's a long way to go. A lot could happen. But one thing's for sure, this case could completely change how we see power, accountability, even what it means to be a celebrity in this day and age.
What's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that we all have a part to play in making the world a more just, a more fair place. We have to be willing to stand up to those who abuse their power, support those who've been hurt, and speak out against injustice wherever we see it. Don't be afraid to question those you admire, to demand better from those in charge, and to believe those who are brave enough to come forward and share their stories.
Powerful stuff. And as always, we encourage you, our listeners, to keep digging into this. Look into the RBO Act, learn about how abuse and power work, and think about what you can do to help create a society that values justice and holding people accountable. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something that deserves your attention. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Feel free to comment your thoughts or where you would like the conversation to go in a future cast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps.